All right, it's time for episode 2 of the Sci-Fi Podcast. Meow, meow, meow. I sound like an injured cat just now. I think that's the vibe I'm going for. Injured cat. I like that. I think that's appropriate. That is appropriate for this podcast. I got to be honest, I'm feeling bloated. I overate. This has nothing to do with science fiction, I know. But I thought it would be important to let you know where I'm at physically and emotionally and psychologically so that you can understand the context for how this podcast may or may not go. Other thing I've noticed is that I'm trying to make sure the microphone doesn't rub up against my corduroy. That doesn't sound right. That doesn't sound right at all. Because it'll make this weird noise, this rubbing up noise, when I listen back to it. And I want a clean sound. I want a clean sound. So I'm going to be being more conscious of holding the mic as we proceed. So the idea behind this podcast is that I am sharing sci-fi news about sci-fi movies and TV and books, mostly movies and TV, because let's be honest, I ain't reading a lot. And then I take a classic science fiction book and I summarize it using the Wikipedia. So it's really, I think, I don't want to say it officially, but I really think I'm going to sink the genre with this podcast. I think that's what's going to happen. So this is very exciting to be doing. So let's just jump right into the news. There were 2 news items I wanted to discuss. First of all, Peter Sarsgaard. I don't know if I'm saying the name right. I hope I am. Peter Sarsgaard, noted actor Peter Sarsgaard, is joining the cast of The Batman. And I consider Batman to be science fiction, especially where Batman is headed now, because of the technology that he uses, namely the fact that he can glide on a small piece of fabric and not fall to his death. I don't know if that's science fiction. That could be science. That could be fantasy. He seems to violate the laws of physics whenever he, jumps out of a plane, opens up his cape, and then does one of those, he lands on the ground and goes, ah! And then 10 seconds later, he's fighting Bane. That's a really impressive cape. I want that cape, whatever that futuristic advanced cape is. I want it not even to jump off of buildings. I want to sleep in it. It'll hopefully, maybe it'll help me from having digestive problems or something, because that cape, whatever that is, I want me a piece of that cape. At any rate, they're coming out with another Batman movie. They're running out of ways to name a Batman movie. They are running out of ways to name a Batman movie. This one is called The Batman. I mean, they had a brief reprieve with Batman v Superman because it was something slightly different. But they're running out of there's only so many Batman movies before we're going to get to another Batman movie. Or it's going to be Some Like It Batman. That would be my vote. Everything's Coming Up Batman. How about that? Can we do that one? Batman again. What are they? I don't know what they're going to do. The Batman, a Batman, and Batman. Are they just going to make it grammatically incorrect? Sooner or later, they're going to have to come up with something different. They're just going to have to do Batman 42. That's what it is. It's the 42nd Batman movie. We don't know what else to call it. Batman. It's another Batman movie. So that's happening. I don't know. That's exciting. Hopefully it'll be... I'm reading that this new Batman, they're saying it's going to be much more of a noir film, much more of a detective noir film. where it's I guess Batman walking around, asking questions and having hushed conversations with people in a dark room. There's going to be a lot of that. A lot of that. Well, what do you think happened? I don't know. Word on the street is this. Got it. I see. That's what's going to happen. All right, I'm going to leave now. It's hard to talk to you while you're wearing a cape. Why is that? Well, it's weird. You're wearing a cape, and it's weird. It is weird to have a conversation with someone who is dressed the way you were dressed. If all we're doing is talking, did you need to wear the whole thing? I mean, you can cover your face, but at least be comfortable. I mean, all this we're just having a clandestine meeting. You didn't need to dress up. I wear this to intimidate people. It's not that intimidating. It's disturbing. It's a little concerning, but I don't feel intimidated. I feel, I feel uncomfortable. Is that the goal? Yeah, I definitely feel uncomfortable. If your goal is to be uncomfortable, you're killing it with the cape and the tights and the underwear over the tights. That I don't get that. I don't know what's going on there. Are we? I don't know if we're. Are you? Do you need a spare in case there's an accident? I'm very confused by this. I'm not. Can we just get this conversation over with? And next time, can we just do it via text? Yeah. So that should be fun. The Batman. I'm gonna go see the Batman. There's the running joke of the older somebody gets, the more they can't remember names of things or names of movies. The SNL did a great sketch on it, but is that what's going to happen now? I swear to you, there's going to be at least one old person who's going to say, "Hey, did you see the Batman? Did you see the Batman movie?" No, we didn't see it yet. We're gonna wait till it's streaming, which is what I do now. By the way, I wait until it's streaming. I rarely see movies in theaters anymore. But that's a different podcast. That's the things were better in the 90s podcast, which is that podcast might be way more depressing than this podcast, if that's possible. All right, so there's that. Second news item: the Lost in Space final trailer is out. Is that a news item? I don't know. I watched the trailer. So Lost in Space. Let's talk. Let's hunker down here and talk about Lost in Space. I was not a huge fan of the original. I remember seeing one or two episodes. I remember seeing it after I'd already seen Star Trek, and my view on it was, I'm good with Star Trek. I'm good. Thanks. Appreciate it. I don't hate it, but it's like I'm good. It's like it feels like being offered, a Subway sandwich right in the middle of a really nice steak dinner. It's like it's a great sandwich. If it were another situation and I was hungry, I'd have the sandwich. But it's I've got a nice ribeye here that is superior in every way. But still, I don't mean to I don't mean to say that in a disparaging way to the sandwich. It's still a good sandwich, but it's a sandwich. The Lost in Space. A family is lost in space. It's based off of the Swiss Family Robinson. The thing about Lost in Space that always throws me, it doesn't matter which any iteration of Lost in Space, whether it's the original TV series, whether it's the 90s movie that came out, which I have a sweet spot. I love the 90s Lost in Space movie. I'm going to go out and say it. I don't care what your reaction to that is. I love the 90s Lost in Space movie. First of all, it's got William Hurt can make anything work. I don't care how bad the movie is or the TV show or whatever it is. William Hurt can make anything work. If they made a movie out of, Barney the dinosaur and William Hurt was, I would see it if William Hurt was in it, because he's just got this commanding presence. I would love to see a movie with Barney the dinosaur and William Hurt, and their partners trying to do something, save the day or whatever. And Barney's sitting there going, "I love you, you love me," and William Hurt would be sitting there going, "There's a certain kind of poetry to who you are. There really is. Not a lot of people can see it, but I can, because I'm William Hurt. And there'd be gravitas, and you go, wow, this, yeah, maybe there is something to this that I haven't seen. So I will watch anything with William Hurt, pretty much is what I'm saying. But my point is, with Lost in Space, it doesn't matter any iteration of Lost in Space, here's what I've noticed. The spaceship that the family is on can somehow endure anything. It's a spaceship that can crash land multiple times. Like in the trailer for this new season on Netflix. This is season 2. In season 1, the ship crashed, and then it took off towards the end, and then in season 2, I think it crashed again, and now they're using it as a sailboat. Like, this is a really, this is a Toyota. That's what this ship must be. This is a Toyota Corolla. That's the only explanation that I can come up with about what, clearly, this is the latest version of the Toyota Corolla. It's got 10 billion miles on it. It keeps going. It keeps going. How is that possible? That how can a ship crash multiple times and still look great? But you would counter that with, well, how many times did this ship in Star Trek crash? Yes, but they're more advanced and they have replicator technology, and it seems more feasible to me that their technology is far advanced and they can go and they can repair the ship, in a day or so. Or they go to a starbase and the thing there's like a giant claw that kind of catches the ship, and they repair the ship after a couple of weeks, and then it's back out like there's no problem. That makes sense. But this one, there's no repair shop that they're bringing this ship to. How many times can one ship crash and it still works? Unbelievable. That has always irritated me with that franchise. So, But I like the ship. Other than that, I like the ship. I think the other thing about Lost in Space that I have trouble with. Here's what I love about Star Trek is that they're all professionals. So whenever there's a crisis, you see a bunch of people who are trained, who are snapping into action, and you feel like they've got it under control. And even though we're exploring a strange new world and it's new life and new civilization, overall, we got this. It's fine. Between Data and Worf, we'll figure this out in about 2 minutes. We're either going to punch the crap out of them or come up with a complex mathematical solution and realign the structural harmonics of the structural integrity field. We'll be fine. But Lost in Space, it's a family. And the other thing about Lost in Space, it does not matter the iteration of Lost in Space. Every single Lost in Space family in every version is pretty. I'm tired of that. I'm tired of beautiful children with perfect teeth. I'm tired of the perfect nuclear family with the perfect, well-chiseled husband and the perfect poster child wife. I'm tired of that. I want to see a Robinson family I want to see a family that looks like my family. That's what I want. I want a family where the tallest person is 5'2", and they come from Russian peasant stock, and the biggest issue is there's a giant crate in the cargo area, and the robot's not around, and the mother is going to the father, don't lift it, don't try to lift it yourself, Larry. Don't try to lift it yourself. You're going to hurt your back. Can you help your father lift it? You know what? Don't lift it. Don't lift it. I'll do it. No. Don't let your father do it. He's going to hurt his back. That's the version of Lost in Space I want to see. That's what I want to see. Not this everyone is healthy and well chiseled. That's what I want to see. I want to see a family of lawyers lost in space. I think that would be way more fun. The one detail in this current Lost in Space that I enjoy, by the way, is I think towards the end they replace the engine in the spaceship with an alien engine. And I love whenever they do that in science fiction, because that's basically the writer's way of saying, we know that the human race is never going to, we're not smart enough to come up with advanced technology. An alien ship's going to crash, and we're smart enough to figure that out. We can figure out the alien engine. The alien's got a clock radio that's a little bit of a challenge, but all you have to do, you have to click the AM button, and then the AM button is also the clock button, and then the other switch over there that looks like a giant razor claw, you push that up, and then you can adjust for daylight savings. We can figure all that out on our. We can't invent it, but we can figure it out. I like that. I love that detail. Okay. Well, that's enough for science fiction news. Hopefully that's a thorough snapshot of the news and review for science fiction this week. Now we're going to proceed to the next classic in this podcast series, which is going to be the Foundation stories by Isaac Asimov. Foundation. And I guess they're making a series out of it. I think Amazon's doing it. Well, I hope that's the theme song. Foundation. That's what I'm hoping. Asimov. Here's some remarks about Asimov that I want to start off with. So I did, and by the way, I am making an effort to actually read the novel and before I do this podcast. And just gloss over the Wikipedia. I really am. I want to be well versed in the science fiction classics, and I don't know if that's self-improvement or a continual fear of talking to people. One of the two. It's a good combination. But I've also did some research on Isaac Asimov, and I also should preface this in case you don't know. I am Jewish, culturally Jewish, which means I don't practice the religion, but I do have this face. And Asimov is Jewish, and I've watched interviews with him, and he sounds like Bernie Sanders, but a little groggy. It's kind of a Brooklyn thing, kind of a Brooklyn Bernie Sanders kind of thing. This is the future of science fiction. That's kind of what it. Kind of a little bit of Bernie Sanders, maybe a little bit of Bernie Sanders, and a little bit of Barney the Dinosaur. A little bit, just a little bit of all that combined. And what I love is thinking when I read these books. I love reading the characters as if they all had that voice, as if they were all Brooklyn, New York Jews. Going around saying, I did the numbers. I did the numbers, and I think the empire is going to fall. I got to be honest with you. I've predicted the future for the next 1,000 years, and it's not looking good. It's not looking good. I gotta say. Now, of course, my mother, who is not a mathematician, could have told me that before I did all the calculations. That's what she spent all her life saying. It's over. It's all over. She thought it would be over in 10 years. It's actually going to be 50, according to my calculations. But she was close. This book, before I get into the Foundation, all Foundation really is a series of short stories in which really intelligent Jewish men talk their way out of war. That, I swear to you, that is the essence of Foundation. It's a smart talking guy in a scene with another guy going, well, we could go to war, or we could start a trade alliance and both be really, really rich. And the other guy's like, yeah, let's do that. And the war is averted and everyone gets rich. And it's almost like reading about well, it is not almost. It is about. It's like reading what's going on right now. Frankly, Asimov is based this off of the fall of the Roman Empire, and what creeps me out is that he's describing the fall of this fictional galactic empire. And as I'm reading this, I'm looking at C-SPAN and CNN and BBC News, and I can't tell the difference. So good on Asimov. I don't think he was a chemist. I don't think he was a mathematician. But man, is he nailing the prediction of the future. All right, so let's just jump in. Okay, so it was originally published, by the way, as a bunch of short stories that were later consolidated into books. So the first part is called The Psychohistorians. I like the name Psychohistorian because it sounds like it could be a historian who goes psycho. That's a movie I want to see with Woody Harrison, where the line in the movie should be, "Those who ignore the mistakes of the past are doomed to repeat them." And then Woody Harrison takes an axe and splits somebody's head in half. That's right there. That movie's going to make 10, 20, $20. There's no way that movie could fail. All right. So, first part, The Psychohistorians. According to Wikipedia, this part is original to the 1951 book version and takes place in 0 FE, Foundation era. So it takes place 0. We're at the beginning of the story. 0. I'm glad that Wikipedia pointed that out. Glad we're clear on that. I really don't know why they said that or what it means. But I'm glad I just want to let you know. Maybe you know what it means. Okay. The story begins on Trantor, the capital of the 12,000-year-old galactic empire, a powerful but slowly decaying empire. So, not to quibble with you, Wikipedia, but you did use the word empire twice in the same sentence, and it's kind of not a grammatical, but a stylistic no-no. I don't mean to split hairs. I'm not perfect either. I make mistakes, but you said empire twice. So the story takes place on Trantor. Here's my question. Ready? Ready for this? Ready for this? I'm feeling very proud of what I'm going to say. If it takes place on Trantor, is there an Italian restaurant on this planet that's called a Trattoria? Ba-da-da-da! That's the podcast. Hey, that's the podcast. Hey, that's the podcast. I think I was singing that to the theme of Go Speed Racer, by the way. Okay, good. So we're on Trantor, capital of a 12,000-year-old galactic empire. 12,000 years. Powerful but slowly decaying. How do we know it's slowly decaying? Oh, everyone's on Instagram. That's how we can tell. Pretty clear, pretty obvious. Nobody's studying science. I think that was a detail in the book. Again, I can't remember if that was a detail in the book or if that's what's really happening. That's my trouble with this Foundation story. Okay. Hari Seldon, main character, Hari Seldon, a mathematician and psychologist, has developed psychohistory, a new field of science and psychology that equates all possibilities in large societies to mathematics, allowing for the prediction of future events. Using mathematics to predict the future, that's what he has invented, that's what he's developed. Which means that soon they will be offering that in these colleges that exist on Trantor. Which also theoretically means that somebody could major in psychohistory and minor in theater. And they could mathematically determine how long they would be working in Starbucks and be depressed by the results. Okay, so by means of psychohistory, Seldon has discovered the declining nature of the empire. I don't know. I don't know. I'm okay at math, and it seems to me, I'm looking around, all it takes is 2 plus 2, I think, at least for where we are. At any rate, Seldon has discovered the declining nature of the empire, angering the aristocratic members of the Committee of Public Safety, the de facto rulers of the empire. I love that they're called the Committee of Public Safety, because it sounds like a very, very local, small-time group that somehow became the rulers of the empire. It'd be like if suddenly the Condominium Association became the head of the United States. And they're like, how did this happen? I don't know, but our agenda's pretty full. We've got, at 2, Florence is coming in. She wants to add an addition to her house, and we have to approve it. And then at 3, we have to review the nuclear codes at NORAD. Wow. We're going to probably have to push the nuclear codes to 3:30 because Florence, she's a bit of a talker. And that she's going to make it harder than it is. She's going to do that. You're right. We're going to have to push the nuclear codes to 3:30. Okay. So the committee considers Seldon's views and statements treasonous. They're accusing him of treason. And he is arrested along with young mathematician Gal Dornick who has arrived on Trantor to meet Selden. You know, with a name like Dornick, you have to be a mathematician, right? Dornick, come on. That your parents are dooming you to be a mathematician. I feel like, by the way, a young mathematician who gets arrested, that's me. I feel like that would so be something that would happen to me. I hate to say it. Hopefully that won't happen to me, but I could relate to that. You're a mathematician. I'm walking down the gangplank of the ship, and suddenly 19 guys are arresting me. What? What did I do? I'm a mathematician. How could I possibly be a threat? What do you think I'm going to attack you with? The square root of -1? Really? Okay, so Selden is tried by the committee and defends his beliefs, explaining his theories and predictions, including his belief that the Empire will collapse in 500 years and enter a 30,000-year dark age. He informs the committee that an alternative to this future is attainable, and explains to them that creating a compendium of all human knowledge, the Encyclopedia Galactica, would not avert the inevitable fall of the Empire, but reduce the Dark Age to 1 millennium. So basically, if we do everything according to him, instead of everybody suffering for a long, long time, they will only suffer for a long time. Can I tell you that this ending is quintessentially Jewish? There's something Jewish about this. And at the end, our suffering was slightly reduced. I gotta say, I see the Judaism in this story. The skeptical committee, not wanting to make Selden a martyr, offers him exile to a remote world, Terminus, with others who could help him create the encyclopedia. And what I love is that when you name something Terminus, that's not the planet I'd want to go to. It sounds a bit terminal, if you will. I would rather go to the planet Orgasmus. Now there's a planet. Why can't I be in exile there? That sounds nice. Man, you'll never hear a peep from me if you take me to Orgasmus. So Hari Seldon accepts their offer. And by the way, I want you to prepare for the climax of this part of the story. Okay? Prepare for this. He accepts the offer, prepares for the departure of the encyclopedists, and receives an imperial decree officially acknowledging his actions. I'm glad those plot points were covered. Just hold on. Here's the climax. Here it comes. Here comes the climax. Selden informs Dornick that despite the Empire believing they won by exiling Selden, the outcome was exactly what he had hoped would happen. Terminus would be the home of the first Foundation, while a second would be established at Star's End. Ha! They thought they won, but they didn't. They did exactly what I wanted them to do. Boom! I saved the day by having a meeting and by really not doing anything. Blah, blah. I don't know how they're going to make this. Like, it's an interesting novel to read, but I don't know how they're going to make this into a show. Unless they need to HBOify it. And the way that HBO would do it would be that entire scene that I'm describing, where the Committee of Public Safety is cross-examining Hari Seldon. The scene the scene would start by them all emerging from an orgy. So there'd just be an orgy. All of them would be naked, having sex with hot women, and then they would end and go, well, that was nice. All right, let's get this trial on. That's the only way I think you could translate this to the small screen. Okay, then we get Selden further announces he's dying and implores Dornick to become a leader in the new Foundation. And Dornick's like, what else am I going to do? My name is Dornick and I'm a mathematician. This is going to interrupt my plans to have an orgy. Really, in spite of, I was the one person who wasn't participating in the orgy scene in the last scene. Yes, what else am I going to do? All right, so that's the end of part one. Good. That's the end. Let's review very quickly. There was 3 conversations, and that's part 1. Boom! I don't know what the special effects budget. I feel like this could be done on a pretty simple budget. I think you need 3 rooms for this to be done. For this science fiction film to take place. 3 rooms, and you're good to go. All right. All right, guys. The next book, or the next story, the title of the story is The Encyclopedists. So, riveting. That is a pulse-pounding. You can tell, based on that name, that things are going to kick into high gear now. Oh, my God. This is going to be a roller coaster. All right, the story begins in 50 FE, so if it's 50 years later, on Terminus, which has almost no mineral resources. Ah, good to know. I hate it. I hate it when I'm on a planet with no mineral resources. That's tough. That is really tough. I don't get enough iron in my diet. A lot of rickets problems. There is one region suitable for development of a large city named Terminus City. You'd think they would have come up with it. I don't know. They could have been a more inventive name, right? Well, that's not. I guess when the colonists came over to America, I mean, you got New York, New Jersey, New England. I mean, they just knew that they just threw new in front of old names. So I guess Terminus City, in a way, is at least, instead of New Trantor, that's what they could have done. Terminus City. That doesn't sound good. The colony of professionals devoted to the creation of the Encyclopedia Galactica is managed by the Board of Trustees of the Encyclopedia Galactica Foundation. Again, the head of an entire city, Board of Trustees. I feel like there's got to be somewhere where there's a gigantic empire in this Asimov world, and it's headed by the book club. It's headed by Linda's book club. They control everything. All right, so the Board of Trustees is composed solely of scientists called the Encyclopedists. Ah, there's the title. All right. The affairs of Terminus City itself are handled by the city's first mayor. Again, mayor. Not king, not president, the mayor. Salvor Hardin, who is a political figurehead and virtually powerless due to the influence of the Board of Trustees. A lot of action. A lot of action. This is reading a lot like, I don't know. I feel like I haven't been this. There hasn't been this much pulse-pounding excitement since the civics unit in our history class. Okay. However, Hardin, the mayor, refuses to accept the status quo, which he believes puts Terminus in danger of political exploitation by the 4 neighboring prefectures of the Empire, which have declared independence and severed contacts with its capital, Trantor, and are now calling themselves, get ready for it, the 4 Kingdoms. I want to be more inventive than that. Like if I'm ever in the situation where I'm part of a kingdom, or I run a kingdom, and then I separate from the empire, and I get to name myself something, I want to go ahead and call it the Cotton Candy Kingdom. That's what I would call it. And people would go, well, wait, do you guys have a lot of cotton candy? No, we don't. But I want to call it the Cotton Candy Kingdom. I want to aspire to that. I want this kingdom to feel like the kingdom that you would see in like a 1980s Mattel-themed cartoon for girls. The Cotton Candy Kingdom. That's something that Rainbow Bright would visit. Why would you want to do that, Josh? That sounds creepy coming from a 37-year-old single man. Now that you mention it, it does. In fact, that sounds like a terrible idea. I really wish I hadn't said yes to it, but we've already printed all the signs, so I guess we have to commit to it. Well, all right, welcome to the Cotton Candy Kingdom. Everything's pink now. Great. Yeah, you know what? The 4 Kingdoms. Maybe that was smart of them. They should just call it the 4 Kingdoms. The 4 Kingdoms. All right, we'll go with that. Hardin manages to avoid an attempt by the Kingdom of Ansaron to establish military bases on Terminus and to take advantage of their nuclear power, which Terminus retains, but which the 4 Kingdoms do not. Once again, like I said, Jewish man in a room, talking his way out of a war. Typical Asimov. Classic Asimov. Hardin succeeds in diverting Anisaron from its initial goal and furthers his goal of the establishment of a stable political system on Terminus. Oh, man. This is... I mean, it's so exciting, I don't know how I can keep going. I'm getting tired from all the excitement. Hardin's efforts are still resisted by the Board of Trustees and its chairman, Dr. Louis Pirien, who erroneously believes they are protected by imperial decree. Are these plot points? I don't know. Is the story progressing? Is it a story? It feels more like I'm reading the minutes. It feels like I'm reading the minutes of something. To remove this obstacle, okay, finally, he's removing an obstacle. This got to pick up. Hardin and his chief advisor, Johann Lee, plan a coup d'etat. Ooh, a coup. All right, rebellion. Designed to remove the Board of Trustees from its politically powerful position on the same day that, in the city's time vault, a holographic recording of Hari Seldon is programmed to play. All right, so the recording will contain psycho-historic proof of Hardin's success or failure. Hardin realizes that his coup is a great gamble due to this possible case that his beliefs are incompatible with Seldon's original goals. All right, it's getting intense here. The next day, in the time vault, the holographic video of Hari Seldon in his wheelchair appears. He reveals that the Encyclopedia Galactica is actually a distraction intended to make the colony's creation possible. The true purpose of the Foundation is to form one nucleus of a second galactic empire and shorten the predicted period of chaos to a mere 1,000 years rather than 30,000 years. After the video ends, the encyclopedias admit to Hardin to having been wrong, and Pireni schedules a meeting to discuss their next action. Oh my God! There was going to be a rebellion, there was going to be a war, there was going to be X-Wings flying around, and they'd have to blow up a Death Star. No, that is not what happens. They watch a recording, they go, oh, I guess he was right. All right, well, let's schedule another meeting. And I think that was just the climax. Hardin knew that this victory would give him the leverage he needed to gain significant power and thus assume actual government by removing the figurehead status from his mayoral office. What? That's, once again, the protagonist is sitting there going, I knew this was going to happen. I knew it. All I needed to do was have a couple of conversations. Knew it. Called it. Hardin 1, Encyclopedias 0. He also knew that Ansaron's forces would be arriving soon to forcibly take the Foundation. Salvor Hardin had guessed the solution, and as Hari Seldon said, it was obvious. All right, good. So we're 2 stories in. We're 2 stories in, and as far as I can see, nobody's gotten out of their chairs, and none of these characters. I'm pretty sure that all of this has happened with people sitting. I think at one point there was a chair that had wheels on it, and somebody, I think, rolled their chair over from one side of the room to the other in a moment of incredulity. All right, okay, maybe it's going to pick up now. The next story, the mayors. So more than one mayor, a lot of mayors. You get too many mayors in a room, you've got yourself a party. A gaggle of mayors. I don't know what the term is for a group of mayors. A murder of mayors? A flock? All right, the Mayors was originally published in the June 1942 issue. Oh, I don't care about that. All right, let's move on. Okay, by 80 FE, 30 years later, the Foundation's scientific understanding has given it significant leverage over the Four Kingdoms, though it is still isolated from the Galactic Empire. Exercising its control over the region through an artificial religion, scientism, which, I gotta be honest, sounds a little close to Scientology. Don't want to open that door. The Foundation shares its technology with the Four Kingdoms while referring to it as religious truth. So it's giving the Four Kingdoms science, basically, and technology, but calling it religion. So it's not an iPhone, it's a God box. Again, creeping me out a little bit. I feel like we're about 2 inches away from this happening now, really. Okay. Maintenance technicians comprise scientism's priesthood trained on Terminus. A majority of the priests themselves are unaware of the true importance of their religion, referring to advanced technology as holy artifacts and tools. Godbox. The religion is not suppressed by the secular elite of the Four Kingdoms, reminiscent of Western European rulers of the early medieval period, who use it to consolidate their power over zealous populaces. This will drive me to the fast-paced, breakneck speed of Lord of the Rings. Salvor Hardin, as mayor of Terminus City, is the effective ruler of the Foundation, and has been re-elected as mayor continuously since his political victory over the Encyclopedia Galactica Board of Trustees. And he's got that Obama charm. They call him. He's got that charm. People like him. He's good on television. He's electable. At one point he had his own reality TV series that got him really popular. He's good on TV. That's what can you say. However, his influence is suddenly checked by a new political movement led by City Councilor Seth Cermak. Seth Cermak here. Seth Cermak. Seth Cermak. There's a name. He sounds like a tool. Seth Cermak. Seth Cermak sounds like the kind of guy who would not get out of his seat on a subway to give to an old lady. He'd go, "No, it's too bad. I'm Seth Cermak. You can stand." Seth Cermak sits. That's how it works. I was here first. That's all there is to it. Seth Cermak sounds like the kind of guy who would look at a homeless situation, and say, "Well, social Darwinism, man. It's social Darwinism. What can I say? That's all there is to it." What was Seth Cermak like in college? That can't have been fun. He was athletic. He was a jock. Let's be honest. We know Seth Cermak was a jock. We know that he was a jock. We know that. And we know that he was at one point in college, he was in his room, and he was, talking with his other guys, and he was, he's like the guy in college who is not afraid to philosophize. He's 19 years old, but he's like, "No, I got to figure it out, man. Totally, I got this whole thing figured out." No, really, I like the civics professor. He thinks it's one way. No, this is how the world really is. This is how the world really is. The world, man, is. It's totally controlled by greed, man. It's totally controlled by greed, and that you have to accept that, and the strong will survive, and I'm one of the strong ones. That's all there is to it. That is all there is to it, man. That's cool. He doesn't make he doesn't make fun of nerds, but he totally ignores them. That's what he's like. And totally, would he be dating 2 women at once? He totally would. But to him, it would be fine. It'd be like, no one committed anything, man. I don't know why I suddenly have so much hatred for this character. It's the Cermak. I think it's the Cermak that bothers me. All right. I've spent too long on this. Okay. Seth Cermak is encouraging direct action against the Four Kingdoms and a cessation of the scientific proselytizing encouraged by Hardin's administrations. By Hardin's administration. So the Foundation is in control of the Four Kingdoms now. Are we all following? Is anyone still listening to this? Okay. So then he's saying we got to do direct action. Again, this is all take place. No one's standing at this point. I don't think anyone is physically lifted or done anything. The movement, Cermak's movement, which calls itself the Actionist Party. God, I'm hoping for an action of some kind. Has there been action? Has anything happened yet? And whose followers refer to themselves as actionists. Great, an actionist. Can we get an explosion? Can we get a ship, flying through stuff? The Actionists, wildly popular, and Cermak and his fellow Actionist leaders refuse to respond to Hardin's effort to appease them. Good! Good, this is going to lead to some action. The kingdom that is most concerning to the Actionists is that of Ansaron, ruled by Prince Regent, I think his name is Venus, and his nephew, the teenaged King Leopold I. Venus plans to overthrow the Foundation's power by launching a direct military assault against Terminus. And with a man like Venus, are we surprised? And they're making use of an abandoned Imperial battlecruiser. Redesigned by Foundation experts to fit the needs of the elite Ansaronian Navy. So it's this old battlecruiser that's still working. My guess, Toyota Corolla. Call back. However, Hardin orders a few minor modifications to be incorporated into the ship's design prior to its completion. So you know this is going to lead... You know where this is leading. Do I need to tell you where it's going to lead? It's going to lead to Hardin sitting in a room going, I knew this was going to happen. I knew this was going to happen. Venus plans to launch his offensive on the night of his nephew's coronation as king and sole ruler of Ansaron. Or Anacreon? Hardin attends the coronation ceremony and is arrested, but he is already arranged with Anasaron High Priest Pauli Virasov. Now, is it Pauli or Pauli? Who is aware of the true nature of scientism, and also Terminus's ambassador to Ansaron to foster a popular uprising against Venus. How hard can it be to get everyone against Venus? With a name like Venus. Like Venus, that was clearly Cermak's best friend. Venus and Cermak, they were part of a kegger. Convincing the Ansaronian populace that an assault against the Foundation and Terminus is blasphemous, Virasov leads an infuriated mob to the royal palace and surrounds it, demanding Hardin's release. Meanwhile, one of Hardin's modifications to the battlecruiser shows itself. An ultra-wave relay, a remote kill switch to the ship's systems. The priest attendant of the ship, Theo Apparat, presents the relay's activation as a divine curse, and the crew, convinced of the Foundation's god's power, mutinies against its commander, Admiral Prince Lefkin, Venus' son. Ooh, the son of Venus. There's a movie I want to see. Son of Venus. Lefkin confronts the mutineers and captured, is forced to broadcast a message to Ansaron demanding Venus' arrest and threatening a bombardment of the royal palace if that and the other demands are not met. Finally, a big giant spaceship is going to fire stuff. Yes! Venus, madness by his failure, orders Hardin... Venus is failed. See, there's so many Venus jokes I could make there. There's so many I could do. This podcast could last for an additional 9 hours. Venus, maddened by his failure, orders Hardin's execution. But Venus, Hardin, wow. Wow, Venus and Hardin. And Hari Seldon. Is Asimov working on something? Is there a Freudian thing going on here? Venus, Hardin? Wow. I gotta pay attention to that. All right. Venus orders Hardin's execution, but his royal guardsmen refuse to obey him. Attempting and failing due to a protective energy field to kill Hardin personally, Venus dies by suicide. So just to review, for the third time now, the main character, Hardin, okay, while not even getting out of his chair, has basically prevented a war, and the scene is ended with him going, I knew this was going to happen. I knew this was going to happen. And he's wearing a shield. He doesn't even have to dodge gunfire. I don't care if you think Han Solo or Captain Kirk are the greatest action heroes. I think this guy has beaten all of them. Because Captain Kirk, there's the famous Star Trek episode where he's fighting the Gorn, and it's this big, long fight with this giant lizard. If the Gorn had gone up against Hardin wouldn't have even got up. The Gorn would have walked up to him, suddenly he would have fallen over and be, going into shock, and Hardin would have said, yeah, about an hour ago I totally poisoned that food you were eating with something that's going to cause you to just, sit there and go into seizure. So yeah, I told you it was going to happen. I mean, I kind of predicted it was going to happen because I'm kind of good at math. So yeah, I won the day. Didn't even have to get up. I'm going to continue sitting here while you wriggle. I'm going to continue doing that. Someone will get you. Someone will get you. Just try not to wriggle too close. I'm about to go fight an entire Klingon war by continuing to sit in a chair. Hardin is proven correct again upon his return to Terminus City by another Selden recording, set to play at this date. Though actionists continue to hold a significant amount of power, enough now to control the city council, an attempt to impeach the mayor has already failed, and his popularity is renewed among the city's residents. It is also confirmed by Hari Seldon that the Foundation's immediate neighbors, the Four Kingdoms, will now be virtually powerless and incapable of resisting scientism's advance. However, the growing nationalism of the fractured periphery makes it hard for religion to make further conquests. Great! All right, good. I'm glad it's picking up. Next we have The Traders. Traders, as opposed to Traitors. The Traders was originally published in the October 1940... Oh, I don't care. Circa 135 FE. Okay, so we've jumped now 50 years later. The Foundation has expanded and has sent out officially sanctioned traders to exchange technology with neighboring planets for what amounts to greater political and economic power. Master trader Eskil Gorkov, also an agent of the Foundation government, has traveled to the worlds of Ascone. Again, there's something edible going on here, I'm telling you, where he hopes to trade atomics. Gorov, however, is met with resistance by Ascone's governing elders due to traditional taboos that effectively ban advanced technology. Well, no advanced technology. So they live in a world where there's still a word processor. Or even a typewriter. And you got to do that. You got to have the little the correction tape fluid thing that you got to do. That's a pain in the butt. Gorov is imprisoned and sentenced to death. The elders refuse Foundation requests for clemency. Traitor Linmar Ponvets is ordered by the Foundation to try to negotiate with the elders. Linmar Ponyets. Linmar. Yeah, Linmar. It sounds like a friend of my grandfather's. Do you remember your Uncle Linmar? So Linmar goes to the central Asconzian planet, and he meets with the Elder's Grandmaster and deduces that, though he is determined to have Gorov executed, he may be willing to exchange the captive for a suitable bribe, which Ponyets realizes could be a sum of gold. This seems to be getting more Jewish somehow. Ponyets clumsily fashions a transmuter that will convert iron into gold. The Grandmaster informs Ponyets that others who have attempted this have failed, and have been punished with execution for both their attempt and for their failure. Ponyet succeeds and convinces the Grandmaster that the gold is appropriate for Asconian religious decoration, which pleases the elders. I'm sorry, has the book started yet? Counselor Farrell, the Grandmaster's protege, appears to be wary of Ponyets. Oh, a lot of wariness. You know what that means. Somebody else is sitting in a chair. Meeting with the counselor, I called it. Ponyets discovers that Farrell is instead quite willing to work with him, if only due to the chances of eventually attaining the Grand Mastership for himself. Farrell, from a different ethnic background than traditional Grandmasters and a young man, believes that a stable supply of gold will be able to dramatically increase his power, and Ponyet sells him the transmuter. He also plants a video recorder inside, and once Farrell tries to back out of paying the agreed price, blackmails him with a recording of the transmuter's use. Oh my God. I really feel like I'm selling the book. The book is a lot better. Reading it is a lot better than summarizing it. I promise you. This is really... I feel Asimov going, hey, maybe you shouldn't publish this podcast. But I'm going to get through this. Alright, so basically, long story short, he bribes him by this machine that makes gold. He's like, oh, that's cool. Okay, I'll release this guy. So Gorov is released. According to a new agreement, he and Panyans can take as much tin from Pharaoh mines as they can carry. All right, good plot development. Now we've got tin. Panyans discusses his success with Garov and explains that now Pharaoh is going to become the new Grand Master, and one very much interested in selling Foundation goods, since Panyans left all his cargo with him, and making people buy it is the only way for Pharaoh to salvage some of his pride. Garov criticizes his techniques due to what he perceives as Panyans' lack of morality. Panyans replies by reminding Garov of an alleged statement made by Salvor Hardin: "Never let your sense of morals prevent you from doing what is right." So that could have just been a conversation at Goldman Sachs, I almost feel like. Oh, good. All right. Fabulous. This is I don't know. I do not know. How are they going to make this into a TV show? How? I do not understand how this is going to happen. Basically, it's going to have to be Judi Dench and Serene McKellen in a room together, acting, and just acting. Oh, just acting. And then maybe. All right, last one. I promise, last one. I don't know if I can make it. I can do this. The Merchant Princes. Okay, I like the title of this. It sounds like, it sounds kind of exotic. All right, circa 155 FE. So we've jumped 20 years later. The powerful Foundation has subjugated the neighboring four kingdoms and tries expanding its religious empire. However, due to rumors of the subjugation of the four kingdoms and later Ascone, further expansion faces heavy resistance. Recently, 3 Foundation vessels have vanished near the planets of the Republic Korel. Thus, the nation is suspected of either independent technological advancement or buying smuggled Foundation goods. Master Trader Hober Mallow. Hober Mallow. Sounds like a hippie to me. He's not, but he sounds like it. Hober Mallow is assigned to deal with Korel and also investigate their technological developments and his missing ships. Those who have assigned the mission to Mallow: Foreign Secretary Publius Manillo. There it is again. Every story, there's always something a little bit Publius. All you need is to take that L out, and you've got yourself another edible symbol. Publius Manillo and Mayoral Secretary Jorain Sutt believe that a Selden crisis is underway. They fear the domestic tensions caused by the great autonomy given to the traders and shaky foreign relations may give rise to a nuclear conflict involving the Foundation. Sutt and Manillo, which, by the way, Sutt and Manillo could also be the name of a cop partners. Sutt, Manillo, get in here! $10,000 worth of property damage. Give me your guns, give me your badges, you're off the case. Sutt and Manillo, wanting to weaken the traders and suspecting Mallow of being connected to the smugglers, plant an agent, Jaim Twir, who boasts of a lay education, aboard Mallow's ship, the Farstar. After the Farstar lands on Coral, the crew allows a Foundation missionary aboard the ship, in violation of orders Mallow has given that require his permission before anyone boards or leaves the Farstar. So, just to summarize, by the way, this it sounds like an awesome spaceship, the Farstar. It sounds like a cool, not since the Enterprise has there been a ship this awesome. And what happens in the story? It lands, and they're trying to decide whether or not to let somebody on it. Great, perfect. It'd be like a movie with the Millennium Falcon, where 90% of it took place where the Millennium Falcon was just landed, and they're getting burgers. All right, so they're on the planet. They're they got the missionary. Corellian law forbids Foundation missionaries to be on the planet under penalty of death. The crew determines that the Reverend Jord Parma of Ansaron, as he calls himself, had been captured by the Corellians but escaped before being killed. Rev Parma is injured. I think of Parmesan when I think of that name. I wonder if people give him stuff for that. Parma, dude. Like, you into Parmesan? Don't be a child, okay? My name is Parma, all right? Okay. A short time after Parma has been led aboard the ship, An angry mob appears, surrounding the Forest Star and demanding that the missionary be turned over to him as an escaped criminal. The rapid response by the Corellians it is Corellians. Oh, look at that. Is that where George Lucas got the Corellian? Is the Millennium Falcon's is a Corellian freighter, so that's probably where George Lucas got that name. Wow, look at that. Look at how much I'm not getting laid right now. The rapid response by the Corellians in what is an extremely remote location accuses Mallow's suspicions. Where did Parma actually escape from? Why was there a mob seemingly already gathered in the middle of nowhere? Suspecting a setup, rather than fight the mob, Mallow decides to turn the missionary over to them and to certain death, despite Twer's frantic attempt to intervene. Soon afterwards, Mallow is... So there was an opportunity... There's been no fighting in any of these stories. And that's something I want to point out, actually, is it's interesting when we think of science fiction today, and I think of science fiction movies, how much action and violence, and in this story, it's all about averting action and violence. Hilarious, and also incredibly soporific. But Mallow, he's not convinced. Where did this Parma actually escape from? Why is there a mob seemingly already gathered in the middle of nowhere? Suspecting a setup, rather than fight the mob, Mallow decides to turn the missionary over to them and to certain death. Oh, I read this. Soon afterwards, Mallow is invited to meet with Coral's authoritarian ruler, Commodore Asper Argo. Asper. Again. Asper. Something edible is afoot. I'm telling you, it totally is afoot. Okay, Asper Argo. After several days of failure securing such a meeting, indicating that Mallow had apparently passed a test by the Corellans in showing respect for their laws. Ah! Ba-ba-ba! Argo appears friendly and welcomes Foundation technological gifts. However, he refuses to allow Foundation missionaries on Coral, which turns out to coincide with Mallow's own interests. Plot twist! It's all working out as he planned it. I feel like in this story he does find somebody has to get out of the chair, but just to get a cup of coffee. Mallow, among other things, offers the Commodore tools for heavy industry, believing that he will allow him to visit a factory where the advanced technology would be found if Coral has it. He sees no signs of it, but does manage to catch a glimpse of the ruler's guards' weapons, atomic handguns, bearing the markings of the Galactic Empire. Boy, how does that work? Don't make me use this, or everyone in a 19-block radius dies, and it's kind of no point to anything. And they assume that the Foundation assumes that the Galactic Empire has fallen by this time. Mallow's discoveries lead him to believe that the Empire may be attempting to expand into the periphery again, and has been providing weapons to client states such as Coral, leading the Republic and his ship. He journeys alone to the planet Siwenna, which he believes may be the capital of an imperial province. Oh, I am literally trying not to fall asleep right now. I hate to admit this. Again, you've got to I need to lean back in my chair. I must. I've got to lean back. I can't do this. I can't lean back. I think something's preventing me from leaning back. I can't even lean back. Oh God, I can do this. I'm going to do this. This is going to happen. All right. So Mallow goes to Siwenna. He believes there might be an imperial province there. He finds Siwenna a desolate and sad place. Oh, I could make so many Cleveland jokes, but that's cliche. That's too cliche. It's too cliche to do that. A desolate and a sad place. They only have alt-rock. That's how bad it is. And he meets the now impoverished former patrician Onum Bar in the latter's isolated mansion, which is slowly crumbling. Barr, a former provincial senator and leading citizen, had served in the imperial government on Swinna during a fairly stable time several decades earlier. I'm glad we got that. Now the story's got some flourish. After the previous viceroy rebelled against the emperor, Barr participated in a revolution that overthrew the viceroy. How are they going to make this into a TV show? How are they going to do it? It's like I'm reading a history textbook. You know, it'll be like a history textbook, but if they get John Williams, somehow it'll work. That's the only thing I can think of. Barr participated in a revolution that overthrew the viceroy. However, the imperial fleet also sent to remove the viceroy, wanted to conquer a rebellious province, even if it was no longer in rebellion, and began a massacre that claimed the lives of all but one of Barr's children. The new viceroy also plans a rebellion, but keeps a backup plan, fleeing into the periphery and carving out a sizable realm there. He had secured a political alliance with Coral by marrying his daughter to Asper. I feel like at that point, Hober Mallow says, I don't care about any of this. Can we just get to... Is the Empire here or not? Dude, I don't need to hear this right now. I don't care about... I mean, I'm sorry for all your kids dying, but, you know, by the same token, you look for trouble, you're going to find it. Mallow manages to tour a Sweeneyan power plant. He observes that the technicians can only maintain the plants, but cannot repair them. Now we've gotcha. This is when Hober Mallow said, by the way, I'm an independent contractor, so I'm going to charge you $500 an hour. He also notes that nuclear generators are much bigger than those of Terminus. Both mean that the Empire cannot replace the goods Mallow sells to the Commodore. He also realizes that religion cannot make further conquests for the Foundation, but a commercial empire can. So we're switching overtly to money. Again, don't need a psychohistory degree to figure that out. Okay. Mallow is tried for murder approximately 1 year after his return to Terminus due to turning over the Foundation missionary to the mob. Remember that? If you remember that scene where the ship was parked and they threw the missionary out? Yeah, well, that's a year passes. Glad to see the court systems on Terminus are about as effective as the court systems here. However, Mallow was able to produce a recording revealing that to the court that the missionary was in fact a Corellan secret policeman. Acquitted, Mallow is received with delight by the population of Terminus, which, along with the wealth obtained by trading with Coral, all but ensures him the mayor's seat in the election scheduled to take place the following year. To prepare for the election, Mallow engineers the arrest of Sutton Manillo, suspecting them rightly of intending to engineer a coup with the aid of the Four Kingdoms' religious elements, and eventually takes office. So, a few points. Again, still seated in a chair for all of this. And number two, I'm trying so hard to I'm going to finish this. I can do this. We're almost to the end. However, he is soon faced with tensions. There's no tension. I'm sorry. This is a quality book. I really believe it. The writing is excellent, ahead of its time. But let's not call it tensions. It can't be tension when the main character has 19 steps ahead of everyone else, and the climax of the scene is told you so. All right, so Corel declares war on the Foundation and is going to use its powerful Imperial flotilla to attack Foundation ships. But instead of counterattacking, no, there was going to be a battle. Instead of counterattacking, Mallow takes no action, effectively imposing an embargo on Coral and waiting until the lack of Federation goods forces Coral to surrender, which it does. So you're telling me the climax, the main character says, we're not doing anything. Can we get one photon torpedo fired? Due to Mallow's control over industry and trade, The Foundation starts to become a plutocracy when one of his allies, horrified, asks why Mallow is not building towards a future empire. Mallow replies it was only his job to stop the current crisis, and history would take care of the ones to come. And that's only really the first book in the Foundation series. Oh, I love it. Each character seems to do less and less around the climax. I feel like the next iteration, it's like, and the entire war is averted, while Long John, because we got to keep with that theme, while Big Rod is sleeping in the room. It's getting to the point where these main characters are so good at predicting the future that in the scene where the bad guy finally confronts them, they're not even awake. They're not even dressed. Oh, hey, come in. They need that in the Star Wars universe. Oh, Darth Vader, come in. Yeah, what's up? No, I've already defeated you. No, I know everything. As soon as you pull out that lightsaber, you're going to accidentally hit the socket. It's going to open up. It's going to hit the light socket above you, and you're going to electrocute yourself, and you're going to need me to call someone. See, it just happened. You just did it. Even in spite of the fact that you have the Force, you just did it. How do I... Okay, I'll tell you something really weird that's happening. This is really weird that just happened. I can't exactly remember what I was just saying because I literally was falling asleep while I was talking. This does not sell Asimov well. This does not... I promise you, the book is better than my reading of it. I love this. I fell asleep during my own podcast. That's how you know it is a solid science fiction podcast. I can't go any further. It's 1 hour and 11 minutes. I cannot go. I have to stop. I have to stop.